Hey, and welcome back. We are ending a series today called Reclaiming You After Narcissistic Abuse. If this is your first time listening, stay right here because there is a lot of great information coming today. I'll put the link to the previous episodes in the comments so you can go back and binge those as soon as we are done. For today, we have made it to phase 5 in the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery series. I call this the freedom. Freedom sounds so great in theory. It sounds light and peaceful and joyful, and a lot of times it is. But when you start living it, it's often very confronting. So today is an honest conversation about this reality, along with some of the tools to support you. And one tool I want to be sure you grab is my Finally at Peace guide to help you understand what's really happening inside your body when you can't relax or when you don't feel like yourself. It's a beautiful first step to reconnecting with calm, clarity, and with confidence. You can grab it in the description below or in the comments. Just comment guide and I'll be happy to send it to you. Before we go any further, I want to start today with a quick exercise. So grab a notebook, open your notes page. If you're driving, just keep driving, contemplate, what we're going to go through today. So take a deep breath. What I want you to do is write down 3 things you value most in your life right now. Not what you think you should value, not what looks good on Instagram, but what you actually value. The things that if everything else fell away, you'd still want to live by. Maybe it's honesty. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's creativity, family, freedom, faith, contribution, or growth. Write them down. Pause the video now if you need a moment to just think about it so that you can write your 3 things down. Now, beside each one, jot a few words about what it looks like when you're living inside that value. For example, if you wrote peace, what does peace look like on a Tuesday afternoon? If you wrote honesty, how does honesty show up in the way you speak to others and to yourself? If you aren't sure, that's totally understandable. How would you know if you were in peace or in honesty? How would you feel? What would be happening? Pause again if you need to think a bit, jot a few things down, and then come back to hanging out here with me. Okay, so here's why this matters. You cannot be free if you don't know what you value. Freedom is not the absence of rules or the absence of fear. It's the alignment between your choices and your values. When your daily actions, your relationships, your finances, your words, when all of that lines up with what you value, that's integrity. And integrity is what creates real freedom. When you are in integrity, you don't wish for life to be any different than it is. Of course, you're still going to have goals and dreams, but you're living in alignment, what sets you on the course for those goals and those dreams to happen. For example, let's say you want a fit body. Living in alignment and integrity means you're taking care of the body you're in now. You're nourishing your body, you're exercising, you're going to the doctor for checks and for blood work. This is integrity. You are aligned with your thought and your actions. Maybe it will take some time for the body you're in to show the evidence of the alignment or the integrity, and that's okay. We can be patient while we build momentum in the things that we want. Another example is finances. Maybe you want more money or to have more savings or to be better prepared for retirement. Living in alignment and integrity means you are adding to your savings account consistently, even if it's $5 at a time. You're making purchases within your means and you're paying down your credit card. What do you want? How are your actions aligning with what you want and with your values? Freedom is not being hijacked by fear, others' opinions, manipulation, or the control of others, or honestly, your own internal shame. Freedom is saying, I want this simply because I desire to have it or to be it, and I'm going to align my actions to it and enjoy life in the meantime. This makes me think of starting college. Many of us decide we want a degree. I wanted at the time to be a teacher. I saw the vision of what I wanted. I aligned my actions by enrolling in the classes. And then I enjoyed my life as I took the classes, class after class, making it happen. I didn't say I want to have a degree and be a teacher and then not apply, not enroll, and then bitch and moan about how I don't have my degree yet. I didn't enroll and then hate my life until I graduated with my degree. You are free to love your life in the simplest form right now, no matter how far you are from the goal. So for those who have just ended the war zone of a narcissistic relationship, where you have been taken advantage of, used, and completely spent with no idea where to go, first, I've been there, and I want you to know I have so much compassion for where you are. The voices are loud and the shame is physically tangible. If this is where you are, your freedom right now looks like slowing down and enjoying small moments where you now get to live in peace. You will have the energy in the future to be more productive and more proactive, I promise. Freedom right now looks like savoring the small things, deciding which coffee mug you're going to use, adding a splash of vanilla into your coffee, and sitting down to savor every sip. You get the freedom of loving yourself and focusing on gratitude that you are no longer held captive by the demands of someone who wants to use you for their personal gain. And if you're a little further down the road and you're feeling the energy of life again, your freedom looks like getting to align your actions with the things you want. You are focusing on how you feel at work, on dates if you're ready to date, when you're out with your girlfriends, at home, and aligning your decisions with the feelings of peace and joy. We talked a lot about this in the reclamation phase last week. So if you need more content, more meat, more details, then when we're done here, go back and watch that one. My point is that freedom is a state of being, not a destination. You are free. And the only thing that will hold you captive is if your decisions are out of integrity. And what I mean by out of integrity is if you continue to allow other people's needs and opinions to cause you to make decisions against your own desires and needs. In this case, you're not free. You're just reacting. You are surviving day to day. When we say yes when we mean no, when we perform instead of participate, when we live out of habit instead of alignment. So if you ever find yourself saying, I don't know what's wrong. I have all the knowledge. I've done all the therapy. I'm reading the books. I'm listening to the podcasts, but I still feel stuck. It's usually because your actions aren't yet in rhythm with your values. And that's what this phase, the freedom, is all about. Now that you have your 3 values written down, keep them close. They'll be your compass for everything we talk about today. Because freedom isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about knowing what you stand for and living from that truth, even when it's uncomfortable. We think it will feel light and easy, but when you start living in the freedom of your integrity, it's confronting, it's challenging, because now you're being asked to follow through on what you say matters, on what you're reading and studying, to act in a way that may disappoint people, to hold boundaries that may make others uncomfortable, to rest when you've built your worth on productivity. And all of that feels risky. It feels wrong at first, because for most of us, love used to mean self-sacrifice. The beginning of our healing journey from narcissistic abuse was about understanding why things happened, why you stayed, why you lost yourself, why you attracted what you did. But freedom, this phase, is not about understanding. It's about the marriage of understanding and action. It's where you are doing life differently. And this is when the resistance shows up. You know what you need to do. Say no, hold the boundary, rest, choose differently. But your body tightens, your chest burns, and you think, I can't. This feels wrong. This feels mean. So I want to lean into that reality and give you as much support as I can. Most of us who've been in narcissistic or abusive dynamics learn to equate sacrifice with love. We were taught that being good meant being small, that keeping everyone else calm was the right thing to do. So when we start choosing ourselves, when we start to say, no, that doesn't work for me, or I need time, or I don't want to talk right now, our nervous system panics. It feels wrong because it's new, not because it's actually wrong. Freedom begins the moment you realize that doing what's loving for you might look selfish or even cold to the people who benefited from your self-abandonment, or who are not yet free themselves and don't want to be confronted with living in integrity. And you're going to feel that conflict. You're going to feel that guilt because you're an empath. But that's not a sign you're doing it wrong or being bad. That's a sign you're awakening to a new form of love, authentic love. You're awakening to life in its finest form. Listen, if you are like me, you will have to reconcile with this very big thing. That setting boundaries and having self-respect means that some of your actions will look and sound like the narcissist you were entangled with. This is perhaps the biggest thing that keeps people from stepping out of being passive and agreeable, saying no, saying I want this, or saying I need you to help me with this, or saying I don't like that. These are all phrases that were used to manipulate you in the past. And so it feels dirty and manipulative to begin using them now. It's very common for us to think, I don't want to sound like my ex. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to become the narcissist. I myself thought this, and many of my clients thought this. Like, I don't want to be like my ex. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to become the narcissist. And I get it, because when you start holding boundaries on the surface, you do some of the same behaviors they did. You say no. You stop explaining. You detach when someone's yelling. You look similar on the surface, but the energy underneath is completely different. They used boundaries to control. You are using boundaries to stay safe and in integrity. They say no to punish. You're saying no to protect yourself and your values. They pulled away to dominate and control you. You step back to regulate your emotions and assess your needs and capacity. That's different. That difference, the motive and the behavior, is everything. So yes, you will have moments that feel eerily familiar, moments where you think, oh my God, I sound just like them. That's the fear talking. And if we don't learn to navigate this, we will always stay stuck in the loop of overgiving and chronic burnout while being out of integrity with ourselves and our values. We are not in full responsibility for our lives and our choices when we allow any form of fear to make choices for us. Listen to me. Every time you choose alignment, when your actions fully match your values, you're taking power back from an archetype that once scared you. The narcissist hijacked power. They dressed it up as superiority, control, and cruelty. They made you believe that being strong meant being selfish. But what you're doing now is rewriting that definition. You're showing yourself that self-respect is not arrogance, that boundaries are not abuse, and that clarity is not cruelty. You're taking the qualities they weaponized, confidence, certainty, voice, and returning them to their rightful place, integrity. You are learning to use strength without cruelty. That's love in its most mature form. This is what the world needs more of, more people fighting to rewrite the definition of power. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk some about taking care of ourselves and loving on ourselves. Because let's be honest, we resist taking care of ourselves. We resist following through, not because we're lazy or weak, far from it, but because it threatens the old identity that kept us safe. You built a self that survived on harmony, approval, and usefulness. That self doesn't know what to do when you rest. She panics. She feels useless. She thinks, if I'm not earning love, will I still have it? So she sabotages. She cancels the plan. She breaks her own boundary. She calls it compassion, but really it's fear. And here's the tricky part. It feels really good in the moment. It feels right. You jump in to help, even though it may not necessarily be your place. When you answer texts, even though you've promised yourself you wouldn't have screen time at night. When you say yes to one more client or volunteer for one more thing, your brain rewards you. You get that little rush, that sense of purpose, control, and even pride. That's dopamine. It is the same neurochemical hit you used to get when you were surviving chaos. The nervous system recognizes familiarity as safety. So it gives you that internal yes signal, even though you're reinforcing the same old burnout loop. And then Monday comes, or Tuesday, or maybe a month later, your energy crashes, you can't focus, you get sick again, your autoimmune systems flare, you start to feel resentful, heavy, disconnected from the very things you wanted to have energy for, your art, your kids, your joy, your creativity. And then that shame voice kicks in. What's wrong with me? I was doing so well. But nothing is wrong with you. Your brain is simply conditioned to associate busyness with worth. It confuses adrenaline with aliveness. That's the trap. Freedom is the process of retraining your body to find satisfaction in integrity instead of intensity, in the quiet after you follow through, not in the chaos of overgiving. So yes, it feels good at first to override your integrity and please others. but long term, it steals your vitality. And the only way to rewire it is through practice, choosing follow through even when it feels uncomfortable or selfish, until your body learns that safety, peace, and purpose can exist together. That's how you build a new loop, one based on real nourishment instead of survival chemistry. And here's where it gets even a little more complicated. The moment you finally start breaking that loop, when you begin holding your boundaries, following through, and doing what actually is aligned with you and your values, the outside world starts to react. Because your nervous system isn't the only one conditioned to the old pattern. The people around you, your partner, your family, your coworkers, your clients, they've all benefited from your overfunctioning in some way. So when you change the rhythm, they feel that shift. Suddenly you're not so compliant anymore. You're the one who says no, or who doesn't jump in to fix, or who lets silence exist instead of rushing in to smooth it over. And that's when the friction of integrity shows up. It's not that you're doing something wrong, it's that you're doing something new. You are inviting the whole system to reorganize around truth instead of compliance. That's what freedom really feels like. The courage to stay steady while the people who were comfortable with your old identity adjust to your new one. Integrity sounds beautiful, and sometimes it is, but you soon realize it also creates friction. When your inside world and your outside actions finally match, people who were comfortable with your inconsistency will react. Some will be confused, some will be angry, and some will try to pull you back into the old dance. They'll say, "You've changed. You're being difficult. You used to be not like this. What's going on?" And they're right. You have changed. What they really mean is, you're no longer bending yourself around my comfort. Freedom will always irritate those who depended on your captivity. I'm going to say that again. Freedom will always irritate those who depended on your captivity. So what do you do when that happens? When your new alignment starts shaking up old dynamics, and the people who once praised you for being dependable, generous, selfless are now frustrated that you've become consistent instead of compliant. You breathe and you remind yourself, discomfort is not danger. Your body might not believe that yet, but when someone is disappointed in you, your stomach drops, your chest tightens, and your mind starts scanning and racing for ways to make it stop. You'll want to say things, do things, apologize for existing just enough to smooth it all over. That urge is not weakness. That is conditioning. Your nervous system learned early that approval equals safety. So when approval is withdrawn, your body interprets it as a threat. But there is another layer here, one that's especially painful. The moment you stand your ground, your brain whispers, "Hey, you're being selfish. You're just like them. You're acting like the narcissist." And that thought hits hard, because the last thing you ever want to be is anything like the person who hurt you. So you shrink, you soften the boundary, you over-explain, and you hand your power away, not because you want to, but because the shame of being seen like them feels completely unbearable. But let me be clear, that is not what's happening. When you hold integrity, you are not reenacting their behavior, you are redeeming it. I'll say that once again, too, because it is a powerful game changer. When you hold integrity, you are not reenacting their behavior, you are redeeming it. You're reclaiming the qualities they distorted: confidence, clarity, power, and returning them to their rightful form, which is love. They use boundaries to control, you're using boundaries to stay connected. They silenced others to dominate, you're pausing to stay regulated. They acted from ego, you're acting from alignment. This is the crucial difference. Their actions were about maintaining superiority. Yours are about maintaining truth. So yes, your body might tense, your mind might scream, "You're just like them." But you can gently answer back, "No, I'm not abandoning myself anymore." And that is nothing like them. This is where real emotional adulthood begins. The ability to hold space for someone's frustration without absorbing it and making it about you, to let them be upset and still know your heart is good. to say, I understand this is hard for you, and stop right there. No rescuing, no convincing, no performance. Because love that depends on your compliance is not love, it's control. And living in freedom is about learning the difference. At first, this will feel excruciating. It will feel like you're cold, detached, unkind, especially if the narcissist in your life use those words as weapons. But what you're really doing is creating emotional clarity. You're saying, my love is still here, but my self-abandonment is not. That's the heartbeat of courageous living. Your steadiness gives everyone around you a new option. They can rise and meet you in integrity, or they can fall away. Either way, you stay whole because freedom isn't about who stays or who goes. It's about no longer betraying yourself to keep anyone else comfortable. Listen, love is not always soft. Sometimes love looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like follow through on a consequence you'd rather not enforce. That's love as leadership. You're leading your life, your relationships, and your energy toward alignment. And that leadership will often be misunderstood, but it will always be worth it because the moment you begin living with integrity, you start creating an ecosystem around you that can breathe again. No one's pretending. No one's walking on eggshells. No one is trading truth for peace. Freedom doesn't feel euphoric at first. It often feels quiet, sometimes even a little boring. There's space, and in that space, the old chaos doesn't know what to do. You'll have days where you wonder if you're doing something wrong because life suddenly feels calm. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just not addicted to adrenaline anymore. And that's what healing feels like. Stillness can feel scary until it becomes familiar. All right. So as we wrap up this series, I want to tell you something really important. Even though I've placed freedom at the end, it isn't really a phase like the others are. Freedom isn't something you graduate into. It's a state of being that you step into, something that can be woven into every single stage of your healing. Freedom is present in the first stage of healing from narcissistic abuse. I call it the shattering, when you finally tell the truth. It can be woven into the second phase, the void, when you stop running and meet yourself honestly. It's also in the third phase, the awakening, when you hear your voice again. And it's certainly in the fourth phase, the reclamation, when your choices begin to match your values. Freedom is not what happens after healing. It's what happens because of it. Freedom is about accepting truth, living in truth, and aligning your daily actions with the values you wrote down at the start of this episode. It's understanding that the discipline of living in truth is completely different than the conditioning of living in fear. Conditioning says, be good so you'll be accepted. Discipline says, be true so you can respect yourself. Conditioning keeps you performing. Discipline keeps you free. When you start to embody that difference, when your nervous system learns that safety and truth can coexist together beautifully, you stop chasing approval and start living courageously in alignment. That's what courageous living actually is, not a performance of strength, but a commitment to integrity. So while the freedom may be the last phase in this series, it's really the first day of the rest of your life, because freedom isn't loud. Quiet and steady and honest. It's knowing you no longer have to betray yourself to be loved. It's trusting that peace doesn't require someone else's permission. All right, so if you're ready to keep growing, to go deeper in this work, beneath all of this, I want to invite you into the next chapter of our journey together. Our next series is called Shadow Work and Nervous System Reset. This is where psychology and embodiment meet, where we explore how your nervous system holds the stories your mind can't speak, and how the parts of you that you've disowned, what we often call the shadow, are quietly running the show in the background. In this series coming up, we're going to talk about what Carl Jung understood about the body long before neuroscience did, why your nervous system keeps pulling you towards the familiar even when it hurts. We're going to look at how the shadows shows up in freeze, fawn, and fatigue, and how integration, not perfection, is the path to real freedom. I'm going to teach you how to understand the psychological meaning behind your body's responses and begin to relate to them with compassion instead of frustration. This is the bridge between your inner world and your body. So I'm going to continue to show you how to bring this integrity forward, your knowledge and in your embodiment. All right, I'm super excited about this series coming up, and I'm actually going to give myself a few more days to get it all set up and aligned. So normally I drop a new episode every Tuesday and Thursday. This episode will drop on Tuesday, and I will start the next series next week on Tuesday. So I'm going to spend this week finishing up my research and ensuring that I have some really clear, good foundational support for you. All right, if this series, Reclaiming You, has spoken to you and you're ready to keep healing at the next level, there are several ways you can stay connected and supported. Again, I have my free guide, Finally at Peace. You can download that right away, get clarity on how to tell if your nervous system is hijacked by fear and what to do about it. I also have the Courageous Living platform. For just $47 a month, you get access to my full library of masterclasses, trauma-informed workshops, guided meditations, and journal prompts. This is the framework I use in my one-on-one coaching journey. You can use it as often as you need. You can cancel anytime right inside the platform. This is a fantastic, if you are somebody who has done lots of therapy or you've done lots of self-study and research, getting into this platform and taking yourself through the Courageous Living journey, it's designed to last about 90 days. So you could jump in, pay the $47 a month for 3 months, and then cancel if that's what you want to do. If it takes you longer than that, it's totally fine. If you are in therapy with a therapist and you feel like you just need some support between your therapy sessions to really get more traction, this is a great supplement that you can use for that. Or if you are a therapist yourself or a healer and you need something to help you kind of guide you in your work with your clients, it's a great support for that. So again, it's just, I have all of my info phased out and curated in a way that's really easy to access. And I want you to have access to it as much as you need or want. And again, that's $47 a month. No commitment. You can cancel anytime. Also, I have a 60-day nervous system reset. If you want a more structured, experiential deep dive to help your body catch up with your healing, you can jump in on that. It's a more curated version. I have very specific things we do and go through for 60 days that is designed to give you a reset or a jump start. It's more... I hold your hand a little bit more in that process for 60 days to ensure that you get some traction in the healing and understanding that you need. All right. And also, you can explore my private coaching with me. That's where we bring everything together. It's trauma-informed coaching, nervous system awareness, and the Courageous Living framework tailored to your life. If you decide to jump in, this is a 90-day package that I offer where you get 12 sessions, just me and you working on your healing journey. You also get lifetime access to the digital studio platform that I was talking about. That's normally $47 a month. And you also get access to the 60-day reset. Basically, if you come in and work with me one-on-one and do the 90-day journey with me, then you will get full lifetime access to all of my work. So the link for all of those is in the description. Feel free to check those out. And of course, I would love to hear from you and answer any questions you have. You can send me a DM, send me an email. I'm happy to chat with you about that. All right. Thank you for walking through this journey with me. I've had so much fun. Fun may not be the best word. I just want you to feel empowered and feel like you have tools to know what to do and hope that life gets so much better. I want you to have the courage to look at what's real. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to walk beside you through this journey. And if nothing else, I want you to remember that freedom isn't the end of healing. It's the embodiment of it. It's the thread that ties all these other phases together. So keep choosing truth. Keep choosing love. Keep choosing the courageous life that alignment creates. And I will meet you next week in the next series, Shadow Work and the Nervous System Reset. All right, take care of yourself, and I will see you next week.